Hello, this is a little disclaimer before the video. Unfortunately, I messed up half the audio on this video, the first half of the audio. It sounds like I'm talking in a garbage can, but the second half of the video, the audio is much, much better. I just put that little disclaimer, so there will be a bump in volume about halfway through the video. Just be prepared for that, just to let everyone who watches know. I know I haven't put up a lot of videos lately, but I've been diligently working behind the scenes, and although there are more videos that will be coming out this year, next year I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of new stuff. I had a lot of things planned for this year, but that kind of got sideswiped due to life events. But next year, the first half so far is looking like it's going to turn out pretty well. So anyway, enjoy the video. In the 80s, movies were the shit, and when it comes to action movies, you really only had two options, Stallone or Schwarzenegger. These guys were usually in movies where they played totally ripped one-man armies. They would be sent into the jungle to violently murder bad guys for one reason or another, and this unbridled testosterone-fueled male fantasy would bleed over into video games in a big way, giving us such games as Contra, Commando, Midnight Resistance, and today's game, Mercs. And I know that when I want to feel like a strong brute man instead of an underachieving couch potato, I reach for Mercs on the Sega Genesis. So get ready, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we're talking about Mercs. Mercs was developed by video game powerhouse Capcom for arcades and then ported over to the Sega Genesis. I never had a Sega Genesis as a kid. Several of my friends did, so my experience with the system was really Sonic and whatever was popular. Mercs, unfortunately, was not a game I played then, so it was a pleasant surprise when I discovered this game last year. The game itself is a top-down shooter. It has two modes of play, arcade and original. The arcade mode is a port of the arcade, and original mode are new levels and ways of playing. Let's start with arcade mode. The story goes thusly. The president has been kidnapped and taken to the fictional country of name I don't remember, where he's being held. Due to diplomatic issues between the US and this government that's fictional whose name I can't remember and didn't write down, the US government decides to hire an elite squad of mercenaries called the Mercs to go in and rescue him. That right there is what I like about video games. Whereas society has denied me purpose and meaning, video games have provided me with both. Mercs plays like most top-down shooters. You can move in 8 directions, shoot in 8 directions, and throw a bomb that kills most enemies on the screen. In this game, you have to continuously push the shoot button to keep shooting for most weapons. There is an option in the options menu to turn on rapid fire. But screw that, real men push buttons, damn it. When it comes to the controls, A and C act as shoot buttons. I feel this is a waste of a button. Capcom could have tossed a strafe button on there that would have helped during some parts of the game, particularly the boss fights. Aside from this one flaw in the controls, I'd say Mercs is solid gameplay. It's a lot of fantastic, freaking frenetic fun. It's a lot of fun, storming the beach and working your way inland. There are just tons of enemies coming at you, bullets flying everywhere, and you have to dodge and weave to survive. I actually thought this game was impossibly hard when I first started playing it, but like the jerk I am, I didn't realize until subsequent playthroughs that I could actually run past a lot of the enemies and not even bother with them. The game stops you very few times and forces you to actually fight. The game becomes much simpler when you realize that you don't have to kill the horde, you just have to kill a path through them. And you get a variety of enemies to kill, such as soldiers with machine guns, the standard guys with rocket launchers, guys with knives who run right at you, guards and guard towers, tanks, boats, jeeps. But the enemy I hate the most are the scuba soldiers who hide underwater and then pop up 3 feet from you and chase you and then stab you and cause you to shout things like fuck and ass and shit and goddamn and fuck. Anyway, you get a good amount of lethal weapons to take these damn terrorists down. The standard is a machine gun. You get a rocket launcher, a spread shot type gun, and my personal favorite, the flamethrower. You can just hold the shoot button down and wave that flamethrower around like the giant phallic symbol that it is. And when enemies die by flamethrower, The death animations look pretty good. The enemies do, however, need a horrifying scream though. Something truly spine-tingling and horrifying in a religious sense. Then the flamethrower would be truly a great weapon. The only real problem with the flamethrower is that you can't just flip around and start using it. You sort of have to turn and it follows you, which causes a delay in its use. Each one of these weapons can be upgraded by collecting one of these, whatever these pickups are. In this top-down shooter, you are graced with a life bar, but have a limited number of continues that allow you to start from where you died. I don't like this, and I would prefer that it gave me unlimited continues and just set me back at the start of the stage. Once you run out of continues, it's game over. But the game doesn't just give you the opportunity to kill guys with handheld weapons either. You can also drive a jeep, a tank, and a little boat. I like the Jeep the most because not only can you run over dudes, but you can also shoot a rocket launcher from the driver's seat while doing it. If that isn't manly and badass, I don't know what is. The game looks pretty good. I don't know what the arcade original looks like, but I can imagine this being an arcade game with lots of enemies freaking everywhere. The first level in the arcade mode, you're running up the beach and into the trees. Here, you get to destroy a couple of natives' houses, which adds to the feeling of being a Western imperialist interloper come to cause havoc and destruction. I hate to say, though, that the distance from the beach to the mountaintop is really short. It must have been an incredibly vertical climb. At the top, you fight a fighter jet, and if your aim is true and your grenades are plentiful, then the jet fighter will submit to your dominant masculine prowess with a fiery explosion of salute. That was a lot of words to say. The next level, you run through what looks like a German village, which is strange because the last level was clearly a jungle. You fight your way through town, and then fight your way through a battlefield of tanks and guard towers with soldiers shooting at you. This is definitely the most frantic part of the game that I played. It's pointless to stop and fight the tanks. It's best just to run. And when you do, it feels like health is just barely out of reach. At the end of the level, you fight a flamethrower tank, and damn it, this fight is the fight where a strafe button is desperately needed. I always get hit when I run to the sides of the tank. Level 3, you're running along some docks and boats. They give you some turrets to use in this level, and they control like shit. At the end of the level, you fight a helicopter. Pretty easy. Level 4 is the level with the dive guys that suck. Here you can commandeer a boat, and the boss of the level is a boat. This fight is a bitch and a challenge. The next level, you're running back through the German town. Tanks and landmines line the streets. I have no idea how to get by the landmines. I just have to take one for the team. At the end of the level, you fight a train boss. Now, unfortunately, I can't show you what comes after this level. I know the game has 2 more stages, but unfortunately, I suck at this game, so I couldn't beat the level with the train. The original game mode is sort of a remixing of elements from the arcade mode, while at the same time is almost entirely a different game. In this mode, you get 1 life and no continues, but you can enter these tents in each level where a new merc will join your party and act as another playable character with their own weapon and attributes. You can switch between these guys at will. Each merc essentially just represents a different gun, with my favorite being Burner, who uses, you guessed it, the flamethrower. And I feel that Lazen doesn't really pull his weight. He's kind of a crappy character. The story this time around doesn't involve rescuing the president, but rather going to a small island nation and destroying some high-grade military weapons. The levels are separated by a map, you see. When you complete a stage, that part of the map explodes. You basically just show up to this island and blow it up from right to left. I suppose that's a good way of accomplishing a mission where you have to destroy weapons. Just destroy the whole island they're on. This time around, the levels divert into different paths, allowing you to find your own way and explore a little, and pick up items. You can pick up bombs, power-ups that upgrade your weapon, health, items that increase your health bar, shoes that give you speed, and medals that you can use to buy items with. In addition to gaining a merc, you can also purchase items in the tents, presumably from this chick in this screenshot, whose face takes up like a quarter of the screen. Each tent has a limited number of items, and the items are different for each tent. One item you get is a revive item, which brings a character back from the dead and gives them full health. The original mode is a pretty good game. All around, Mercs is a pretty good package. Makes me feel like a strong, tough, brute man, which I am, and you better believe it, or I'm gonna come for ya, you jerks.